Hi, guys. Welcome back to the second day of Guru Manifesting Summit. I thought it would take a little longer for it to open up. Let me make sure that the volume is up. This computer, I don't always use the volume, so I always have to take a look. Okay, so this is the beginning of the second day, 12 a.m. I'm very specific about these things. I wanted to be able to get in here and talk with everyone before the day is started. But it is officially the 22nd now at 12 o'clock. And so I wanted to remind you the website is beyourownguru.weebly.com. This is where we are sharing the links for the other people that are involved in this event. This is day 2, and there will be several other people. Keep your eyes peeled to the website. I believe there may be 3 links available now and a couple of more coming up. But everyone is in various places all over the world, and this is all very amazing. So again, welcome. So my topic for today is law of assumption. Now, this is a spiritual law, not like the laws we have. I'm going to say just America because that is where I am, where sometimes they seem a bit arbitrary to us. But this is from the spirit realm. And my definition is always that, the law of assumption is basically whatever you believe to be true is true. That's my version. Hi, Hillary. Thanks for coming back today. My version, because that's how it feels to me. Now that I've learned to follow my thoughts, I realized so many things I could have done differently by simply thinking of them in a different way and allowing myself to follow that path. And I didn't do certain things, but you know what? Now that I know, I'm just going forward and doing things differently because that's what I believe is the best step. If you wanted to make changes, say in a relationship, you definitely can do that with law of assumption too. Just change the way you think about something. And so this is actually bringing me to what I had planned to share about how there can be people that you know or know of, and they have a certain way about them that may not be something that you are drawn to. But on the other hand, other people are crazy about them. And you just do not understand. You just don't get it. But it's really because of your assumption of the person. It could be even interactions that you had with them. And so your mind is kind of stuck in this groove of how they just maybe rub you the wrong way, or, but it's all coming from your reactions to them. And if you change your assumptions about them, then I guarantee you the situation will change. And so today, I actually ended up living this example. Now, I know it's because I had this thought about this example for days. I just kept thinking it's so interesting how that happens. And today it happened to me. I won't go into specifics considering who this was, but it's just that I realized it was very in my face. Like, you had this experience with this person and it kind of stuck in your mind. And your example is like, you know how to change it. So I'll change my assumption. I made an apology. I took some deep breaths. I started again, but it was just like, you're not getting past this. You're going to make this change. So that happened to me earlier today. But I want to give you an example of how an assumption actually that I used that was more of an upbeat example. When I started testing Neville Goddard, what I do is I do it all in my mind, right? I use my assumptions, and say an assumption would be that you would choose an I am statement about yourself or someone else. In this case, I chose the statement, I am elegant. And so in my mind, I would say that statement just randomly. I would walk around and I would think it. I would sit and think it. But it wasn't all the time. It was just random. And after a bit, I want to say a couple months. But again, I was just doing it, kind of sampling the idea of assumptions. And so I was in a co-op one day where I used to hang out. And I was talking to this woman and we talked for a few minutes. And then I went to turn to leave. And she stopped me and she said, "You know what, Renee? You are always so elegant." And I was like, "Thank you very much." And of course, by the time I got to the car, I was like, "Oh my gosh." She said what I had assumed about myself to me. I never said that to anyone else. It was just a thought that I was assuming. And she said it to me. And then a couple months later, I was talking to someone on the phone. And thank you, Hillary. I was talking to someone on the phone. And we had never even met in real life, right? We just talked. And one day she said to me, "Renee, you are so elegant. When I think of you, I think of elegance." And I thought, well, thank you. But then I said, "Did I tell you about my assumption?" And she's like, "No, you never said that to me." And I was like, well, thank you. And it happened again after that. So guys, it works. Totally works. You don't have to say it to anyone else but yourself. This is where the work is done, in your inner self. And I had actually kind of forgot about that earlier because I thought of some other examples, but then I thought about that. That was like one of the first things that happened after I started testing Neville Goddard, because I originally came from the state of not knowing what I was doing. And so I found something about manifesting through Robert Kiyosaki. And there were like 4 things he wanted you to do, right? And so I was kind of looking at the paper one day and I thought it was interesting. And I thought it seemed familiar. And I'm sorry, I have a little drip. I'm sorry. It's not COVID, guys. It's the hot and cold in my house. It gets warm, it gets cold, back and forth, and I start to get a little allergy thing going on. But so it was a Kiyosaki note that I found. And I remembered the law of attraction. And so I started listening to those videos. But to me, a law of assumption is different. And I'm saying that only because of the way that I've used it. That was something I meant to do as a disclaimer, guys. Everyone has their own way because of the way that we receive information, because of the way that we've grown up and the way we deal with life. It's all going to come out differently. There could be 20 of us saying the same thing, and we can say it from a different viewpoint. So this is my viewpoint. And so, so the example that I had planned to give was kind of an amusing one, because when I first started learning about manifesting, the guy was talking about lists. And so I, of course, started making lists. And I had made lists before, but it wasn't the same. So I wrote out a list. And he always talks about getting a free cup of coffee. So I assumed I would eventually get a free cup of coffee. And I wrote, I received a free cup of coffee. And there was like 5 or 6 more things I wrote down. And what is so interesting about this is maybe I just never really was that excited about a free cup of coffee because it took me 6 months to get a free cup of coffee. And I remember this simply because of this. I was getting out of the car one day at a mall, and I said to myself, this would be a nice day for a free cup of coffee. I opened the door, we walked to the little strip center, and we went inside an eyeglass place. I had just said this, right? I walk in the door, and to the right of the door is a smorgasbord of free coffee. And I think that's kind of amusing because I had assumed it, but I didn't like put any focus on it. It was just something that I wrote down. Every now and then I had kind of wondered why I never received free coffee, but it wasn't a focus at all. It wasn't a goal. It was just there. And see, actually, it was there the day I really thought I would want it. I don't drink a lot of coffee. I drink mostly tea. Now, if I had to put, I would get a free cup of tea, it may have been a little different. But I thought that was just so hilarious. And I shared it with my friend. And she was just like, what are you talking about? And so I had a chance to share, a little more about law of assumption. It happens so often now, especially with food. I was going to share a technique, even though the technique day is really tomorrow. I remember this because, again, it was in the beginning of my learning. And I decided after listening to several people's what I call mind tapes, where they talk to you, they make a tape and you listen to it like during the night, right? So I've been listening to this guy's mind tape for a while, and I started to say the things he was saying, which was fun. But I started thinking, why can't I make my own tape? And so I decided I would make my own little mind tape. So basically, this is assumptions that I'm saying to myself in my little audio, and then I would listen to it. And then I kept it really light because let me just tell you what I said, guys. This was during a time where this was something that I want to say needed, but I definitely desired these things at the time. So I would say, I receive, no, I want to specifically, I said, oh, people give me food, people give me money, people give me properties. And I kept it really, really light, right? And so I'm saying this because I actually did part of this once on an interview and I forgot the steps. So I want to make sure I give you the steps. So I was just kind of saying that, and I listen to it every now and then. And I'm telling you, this happened like within a week or so. And again, I was just kind of playing around with it, still testing. And so one day I went to a restaurant that had gone to off and on. And I decided this was the night that I wanted. I made a decision that I would eat till I was full, but someone else would pay. And it was just a decision that I made. And so I went in, and I never usually order a meal. I usually just order a snack here. I ordered a meal. I sat down. I was enjoying my meal. And about halfway through, someone came to me. The waitress said, someone paid for your dinner. And I was like, really? Yeah. They said, enjoy. I said, okay, well, thank you. And again, it was like it happened so naturally that it took me a second to catch up, right? And I was like, well, that's really cool. Test, test, test. And so I finished my meal, and I probably hung out there for a while, probably it's like midnight or whatever. But after I got in the car, I decided I wanted dessert, guys. And this is just funny. I drove down the street to this pie restaurant, and I had been there off and on, not a whole lot, right? Because it was a little heavier food than I normally would eat, but they had pie. So I went in. I said in the car, this is a good night for free pie. And so I went inside. I ordered coconut cream pie and I enjoyed my pie. And the lady came over and said that I want to pay for your pie tonight. She never did it before and she never did it again. But she did it that night that I decided I wanted free pie after my free meal. So, guys, this works. You decide what your desire is and you go for it. Now, because I was new at this, I admit I did make sure I had money those times. Okay. So I wasn't even totally, standing on my assumption. I was just like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to believe this and I'm going to relax and I'm going to enjoy my food. I'm going to enjoy my pie. And it just happened. There was even one night, you guys are going to think I'm crazy. You would think I'm tiny, believe it or not, as much as I eat. There was one night where I actually was at the pie restaurant and I had said that thing about getting a meal that night. But I was so busy on my phone that I almost missed the free meal because I didn't really want to talk. But I decided in the moment to talk to these people who were across from me that were kind of wanting to chat. It was like a guy, and I really didn't want to flirt, But I went ahead and chatted with them. And before he left, he added my food onto their bill. So I know it works. It can work for many more things than food. There are many times that it's worked so well and so fast that I almost didn't remember having the thought. Okay, so let me just clarify what this is all about. To create an assumption, you basically decide something is true, and then you stand on that thing as being true. And you can write it down like was making my list, and you can make your own mind tape where you're deciding that it's true. For instance, you would say, I received my free cup of coffee, I received my free pie, I received my free food, or whatever it is that you would like. And by the way, I did get free money too. Whatever it is that you want to claim is true. But an important thing about this that I don't want to miss is that we do this all the time. It's our nature to assume things. We assume things about people. We assume things about, I have an example about a chair. You assume a chair will hold you up, okay? You never think that it's going to let you down. That's an assumption. You could go somewhere and sit in a chair not realizing that it's broken and it could fall down on you. Okay, let me just see. So true, it happens naturally and almost, yes, exactly. It is our nature that this happens. And when you start to follow your thoughts, you will start to see how it works. And then you can basically start working it by creating your list and creating your assumptions for your betterment and other people's betterment. You can do the same thing for other people. You can assume things for other people. Neville Goddard teaches that. It works just as well. I've done that too. You can calm yourself in a situation that may seem turbulent. And if you calm yourself, it calms the situation. I've done that quite often. It's a matter of your belief in the situation. That is the main thing. And understanding that it's always been happening. We're humans. And this is how we live our life. This is how reality, this mental realm reality that we're in, it's how it works. And if you just take a moment and, think about things as they happen, well, how could I have done that differently? Or what did I do to precipitate that situation so that I can change it. Not so you can blame yourself. No, no. So you can change it and do better. There's not a God in the sky taking notes. You are the God, okay? Any notes that are being taken are taken up here. And you can always change a situation. You can change it in the moment. You can change it later. I'm assuming someone's going to talk about revision, so I don't really want to touch on revision so much, but it is kind of what that is when you change it in the moment. But it's still law of assumption, because that is how that is how it all really works. And I'm sorry, I have another example. Unfortunately, it involves food, but it just keeps coming to me, so I want to share. Um, I wanted some cake one night. Again, food is so easy for me. I wanted some cake one night, and I was just thinking about chocolate cake. You know, that mouth watering that you get when you could just imagine tasting something like chocolate cake. I had that going on in my mind one night, and I kid you not, my son came home with a chocolate cake. I know. He has no idea what's happening. He just brought home cake. Hey, mom, look, I brought some cake. And I was like, that's nice. That looks really good. I wasn't even sure it was for me, though, to be honest. I actually waited a day to eat some because I think maybe I scared myself. I really think I scared myself. I waited a day to have a piece. And that cake was in there for 2 weeks because I didn't want to eat it all. But it was so good. I assumed it could happen. I had that mouth-watering feeling. And feeling is another thing that you can add on to your assumptions to help. You know, things like food, maybe that's why they're so easy, because we've been eating our entire lives. And we know how things, like things that get us going, things that we like. But again, you can do this with anything. You can do this with money. You can do this with food and locations where to live. I had a bill due one day, and I was tempted to make the call to a relative, but I said, no, I can do this. And I didn't call them. And I received unexpected money to pay that bill because I stood on the idea that it was taken care of. I'm taken care of. It's okay. Don't worry about it. My assumption that I was fine overtook this idea of calling for help, which was a habit that I had. So that's just, an idea of how you can use yourself to better yourself and others. And I appreciate you being here, Hillary. It is my favorite topic to talk about. I have so many examples. And I'm going to let you guys go for tonight. Be sure and check out the website, Be Your Own Guru.weebly.com. And you will see who is up next today and the following days. Tomorrow night at midnight, I will be talking about the techniques and awareness. So have a great evening.